Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a very special speaker speak to us today, and he's none other than Dr. Peter Yannopoulus, who's come to us all the way from Canada. Dr. Yannopoulus is a professor of marketing and business strategy at the Goodman School of Business in Brock University, Ontario, Canada. What you're going to have fed to your brains today will be something not usual, because I know in Toastmasters we talk a lot about leadership. We get fed up of leadership. But today you may see something different about leadership that you haven't thought of before. All right? So I'm not going to steal the limelight. Here's Dr. Peter, and all of you, please open up, ask any question that you want to ask. There is no silly question, and have a good time. Dr. Peter?
Thank you very much, Cyril. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my honor to be here with you. And I'd like to thank the organizers, Victor and Cyril, and the rest of their team for inviting me to this great conference. And from what I see, and from now on, I'm going to be encouraging my students to become members of the Toastmasters group. You're doing great things. Congratulations. Congratulations. And the greatest thing you acquire from being a member of this group is the confidence and the leadership skills you need to do great in your future lives. I came all the way from Canada, and mind you, it's not my first time in KL. I've been here 6 times in the last 8 years. So I'm somebody who likes coming here, and I like to find opportunities to be back. And somehow KL is a great city, and it has a special meaning for me ever since I came here for the first time. Usually I come for conferences, academic conferences, and I'm happy that I'm given this opportunity to be with you and do something different this time. Also, I like to, from my voice, you probably realize that it's a little bit hoarse. I picked up something a few days ago, and I had to see the doctor, and I hope my voice will hold up for the next hour or so. I'll try not to speak loud. So, and that's why I'm using the mic. Usually I don't like using mics. I like to, just use my own voice, but this way I can, use a lower voice instead of just being loud. So hopefully let's keep our fingers crossed, as I say. And by the way, the doctor, when I saw the doctor, I said, look, I'm giving a very important speech on Saturday. Can you do something about it? And she said, yes, I can give you something that we give to singers. So when singers have a hoarse voice, they go to these doctors, to a doctor, and they give them a special pill, and you get back your voice. So I said, great, I'll be able to sing in addition to talk on Saturday. So if I start singing, that will be the influence of the pills that she gave me. So, but I'm not a good singer, I can tell you that much. So let's go back to our topic. I'm going to talk about a very important topic for, especially for businesses, but it's going to have some also lessons for everybody because we all work in businesses. And we like to know what happens to businesses in the long run. And I like to dispel this idea that things in business are permanent. There's no such a thing as being permanent in business. Things change, and we have to realize that. The same way everything else in life changes, businesses also change. So, as you're going to see, my main message will be that if you're doing well in business today, it does not mean that in the long run, you're going to keep doing well. You probably know that. But a lot of people especially when businesses, when they're successful, they think that good times will last forever. And they don't develop the mind frame or the framework or the mind frame or the mindset that tells them, look, you're doing good today, but in the long term, you're not going to be doing good unless you expect change and know what to do about it. And this is my topic today. So I have developed a framework because this is something that has occupied my mind for a long time. My first education was economics. And I developed the desire to create frameworks and theories that can help us deal with the phenomenon we're dealing with. Okay, so I'm going to be very structured in my presentation. I'm going to be using PowerPoints. I'm an academic, so I like to know where I'm starting and where I'm going. Okay, this is how I teach my students, this is what I do my consulting, this is what I do in life. Okay, so I have quite a few PowerPoints to show you. Okay, so hopefully you will not get too tired from them. So I'm going to start off, let me see, with a couple of quotations, just to get things started. Does anybody recognize Stephen Hawking? Okay. He's late now, the late Stephen Hawking. Great astrophysicist who said he was not in business, but he had a good understanding of what intelligence is all about. And I was struck that he said this, that intelligence is the ability to adapt to change. Okay? So he was worried that people don't understand change. And he said that if you're intelligent, you have to understand change and adapt. So adaptation is a key word here. So as people, we have to adapt, we have to change. As business people, we have to change our organizations. Okay? You're probably also aware of Darwin's theory of evolution, right? It's the same thing. So what is the greatest threat to our existence in the long term? What's the major cause of failure in business? So hopefully by now, you know the answer, okay? That it's what Stephen Hawking said, that we don't adapt. So you have a great organization doing well, then all of a sudden, the sky falls and you fail. So I'm going to move on to another quotation before I started my own stuff. And that was by a great evolutionary economist called Joseph Schumpeter. I don't know if anybody studied economics. He's a very well-known figure in economics. And he was worried that the same idea as Stephen Hawking, that we don't understand change. Because I don't know if anybody, again, studied economics, but economics likes to be like physics. Like physics. Physics is static. But economics is more like biology. Business is more like biology. That you have to adapt, you have to change in order to survive. So if you feel that things are static, stable, if you believe in stability in business, it's a big mistake. So he said that successful businesses fail because the world changes, but businesses do not change together. So you don't understand change, you don't change. Okay. Now, there's two types of change. Okay. So one of them is what we call disruptive or radical change. The other is incremental. What's the difference? By the way, if anybody wants to jump in, I like to have interactive. session. So, and that's how I do my class as well. So, what is disruptive change or radical change? You probably heard the term. Anybody? You probably know. Yeah, Andrea. Right. It's anybody else? Yeah, yeah. So disruptive change, it change that is a major change. And it's going to disrupt your business model. It's going to disrupt your business, it could be a new technology, could be a new business model that is different from yours in a major way. In a way that paralyzes you. You cannot do anything. That's why disruptive. You cannot copy that model for any reasons. We discussed that. Or radical change. Same thing. Radical change is major change that overtakes you. It kills your business. So, and then there is the incremental change, which is minor change. It's change that you can deal with because it's a change that is it's not major, so it's not going to disrupt your business. So and it's possible to copy, adapt to it. So here we're dealing with disruptive or major change. These are the big threats, not incremental. Incremental is minor. Now, just to set the stage, I'd like to present to you a number of disruptive trends which are happening in Southeast Asia. Okay, so just to see what I'm talking about, what major change is all about. And so in Southeast Asia, we are witnessing a tremendous economic and technological change. And this change is spearheaded by companies like Alibaba, Tencent, Huawei, Flipkart, Grab. I was impressed by the success of Grab here, okay, which is phenomenal, and I love it. I use it many times. I download the app, and I feel sorry for the poor taxi drivers. But why do you think the taxi business tradition is in trouble? Is Grab or Uber in our part of the world disruptive change? It is. It is. They are disrupting the traditional business. And the traditional business can't do much about it. Okay. So, and later on, I'm going to explain why. Okay. So, another thing about the Southeast Asian companies is that they are no longer considered to be imitators. Because traditionally, the argument by Western companies, or by Western countries, was that these Asian innovators, companies, were just imitating the Western companies like Uber and Apple and Google and so on and so on. But it's no longer the case. Okay? They're already becoming disruptors themselves. Okay? And that's what is happening. So I'm going to give you some trends quickly. Okay, so online shopping and virtual payment. Okay, who is the king of online shopping in Asia? Alibaba? Alibaba is the king, and there's other companies that are trying to catch up, trying to take a piece of the action, okay? But Alibaba is probably bigger than Amazon. But also Alibaba introduced innovation, which is the so-called Alipay, okay? So you don't have to use a credit card. So you can use Alipay, and that became pretty much standard. That's also disruptive. Okay, that's disruptive. And I think that's what led to Alibaba's rise. We have another trend, automated stores. Okay, so there's a lot of talk about the physical stores are going to disappear. Okay, that it's the end of the brick and mortar store, and from now on, online is going to be everything. Well, it's not quite true. Okay, not everybody likes to buy online. Okay, and there's also companies that are looking at the retail in a different way. So now we have automated stores. And here are some examples. Okay, so these stores are stores that have no personnel, no staff. Just go in, buy, scan it, and go. No cashiers, no employees. Okay, and here are some companies. There's also another trend, which is all-in-one social media. Okay, I'm talking about WeChat. Are you familiar with WeChat in China? It's big in China. Okay, here I don't see, but what we use here, I guess, is WhatsApp, right? That's the king here. Now, if you compare WhatsApp today with WhatsApp 5-10 years ago, can you see changes? Have you seen any changes? It's like Facebook now. It's like multimedia, digital media. Because now you can do a lot of functions, great functions. So that's a change. So they are disrupting the other Facebook and Google and other media. Okay, so that's a disruptive trend. Also, another one is affordable mobile devices. Initially, we had Apple and Samsung and so on. But now we have companies like Xiaomi in China and many others following, which are developing innovative, disruptive business models whereby they can sell smartphones at a very low price. That's a disruption. Then we have ride sharing. Okay, I talked about Grab. We have Uber and other companies in Canada and the States. So the ride sharing is disruptive, the traditional taxi business, and they're revolutionizing public transportation. Okay, and in fact, I don't know if you know this fact. Grab achieved the valuation of US $10 billion. It's a lot of money. Okay, it's a very quick rise. Artificial intelligence. Okay, that's another disruptive technology. Okay? So artificial intelligence is something that you create machines that think like people. Okay, so they can make decisions. And you can see that in self-driven cars. Are you aware of this trend? Yeah. So they're used there. They're being used in other applications. 3D printing. Okay. Do you know what 3D printing is? Anybody? Anybody? What's 3D printing? Yeah. Three-dimensional. Okay. So you can print anything, any three-dimensional, and then you can become a prototype. Okay, so that has great applications. Okay, in medicine, it's been used in medicine to recreate human organs. So you can develop human organs in much more detail now because of 3D printing. So it saves lives that way. It's a very, very revolutionary technology. And virtual and augmented reality. Okay, so you're going to be watching movies in a different way. So it has many applications. So, okay, so let's move on. The point of my discussion here is that, as I said earlier, lack of adaptation can lead to bankruptcy. Okay, so we can put in a three-pointer here. So a business makes specific investments which are mostly sunk investments. Okay? So these the value of these investments depends on how well the investment matches the future needs of customers, technology, and competition. Okay? Now, if the future is not as you predicted, okay, then you must adapt or you face bankruptcy. Now, how do we avoid that? Okay, just some ideas before I give you my own model. So, in order to avoid that, you need to have ability, agility, and responsiveness. Okay, so so companies need to develop structures and processes that enable you to be agile, meaning quick on your feet, and responsiveness to change. And all these companies that I mentioned have this ability, okay, to seize and to sense and to shape promising opportunities. Okay? So these are two things that you need to develop. Then we need to talk about transformation. Okay? So corporate transformation is a key dynamic capability. Okay? And so transformation is the ability to transform the organization. Okay? And but it's a very slow and usually painful process. Okay? And but it's necessary. It's necessary. And in fact, because in fast-moving industries, the need to change is constant. You have to develop the ability to be a serial corporate transformation company. So that's becoming the norm. So in fast-moving, and this is what I'm talking about, in fast-changing industries, we need to develop the ability of moving from one advantage to the next, to the next, okay? Don't stick to the old advantage, because the old advantage becomes outdated. Now, along with that, there is a high degree of risk, because change means risk, okay? And and an effective leader, talking about leadership, so effective leaders need to plow ahead, move ahead, take risks, and quickly capitalize on the opportunities they find in their environment. Okay? And therefore, they continuously search, and that's a key term, for transient competitive advantages. Okay? Which means that if you have an advantage and you are successful, that advantage is not going to last for 100 years, forever. Okay? There's going to be a time when this advantage is going to be outdated, obsolete. So you need to look for another advantage. Now, mainstream strategy, okay, makes two assumptions which are wrong in fast-moving environments. First of all, it assumes that industry structure is stable. In other words, in your industry, there are 10 competitors with certain market shares and certain abilities, and that's a stable structure. It doesn't change. Okay, that's wrong. One thing wrong. I'll explain why. And then the other assumption that we made is that competitive advantages are sustainable. And what that means is that companies, if that's the case, then your company is going to try to optimize its functions, resources, people, skills, systems, everything is optimized because you want to take full advantage, right, of your business so you can maximize profits and sales. But of course, that's wrong. industry structure is subject to change. Just because you have 10, 12 competitors, certain market share, certain abilities, that assumes that you don't believe in disruptive innovation. You don't believe in innovation. You don't believe that somebody can come from outside and eat your lunch. And that's the idea of change, that you can have companies from anywhere. Okay, they can come from outside. They can come from either other industries, or they could be startups, new startups. Most of the examples I gave you earlier, they were startups. Okay? And startups have no issue with, existing allegiances or inertia, nothing to lose. They just can come in. And so these two assumptions are wrong. Also, and that's another problem with existing strategy, okay, that the major assumption with existing strategy is that strategy and innovation are two different things. So here what I'm talking about is that strategy has to include innovation. So innovation has to become a big part of your job as a strategist. So a CEO has to worry about how innovative the company is. So that's another trait of a leader. So a leader has to take on the job of innovation as a major company responsibility, okay? But a lot of CEOs, they look at their job as managing the existing business, maximizing profits, but then that means they neglect the long term. They neglect innovation. So innovation has to be part of the job of the CEO, of the leader. Okay? And as I'm going to say later on, innovation has to become relentless, has to become constant. So you cannot say, let's innovate this month. Let's make this innovation month. You cannot do that, okay? Or some people about cost cutting, they say that let's do cost cutting this for a couple of weeks. No, cost cutting, cost control has to be constant, has to be part of the job of the business, the CEO. Same thing with change, same thing with innovation. So innovation has to be part of the leader's job, okay? And you should not delegate it to subordinates. But luckily, there's a lot of CEOs lately have realized this truth, because I guess they realize that innovation is an important function, it's an important part of a business, and therefore they need to include it in their strategy. So the new playbook for strategy, but for fast changing industries, is that the new strategy has to be built, depend on the temporary competitive advantage, okay, which is stay away from thinking long term about your current advantages and businesses. And so you win by building competitive advantages one after the other, or new businesses. So shifting from a sustainable advantage to a temporary advantage world means that while you're exploiting an existing advantage, you must be already working on a future one, okay? So when you're managing your business, okay, you cannot say, I'll think about future business later. No, at the same time, you're working on you're managing the existing business, you have to already have projects, future projects. And sometimes we have projects for Horizon 2, Horizon 3. So you have more immediate future projects and more future long-term projects, okay? So by the time your existing projects, your existing business starts to become outdated, obsolete, then you can introduce the new projects, new advantages. But the problem is with this idea that there are mistakes, okay? We don't know everything. We cannot be 100% all the time. So how do you deal with that? Okay, how do you deal with that? Well, there's different ways of dealing with that. First of all, we don't punish failure. Okay? Because the worst thing you can do is you can say we have to be innovative. But at the same time, if you fail, we're going to punish you. Okay? And so, because this way you kill all the incentive. So there has to be incentives for innovation and also for failing. Okay, for failing. So that would be one. So what you can do is you can learn from your mistakes and then move on. Okay. The other thing companies do is they have a portfolio of new projects. And what they do is they say, well, if one of the 10 projects succeeds, then we can do fine. Okay, so what you want is like a stock market. It's like a stock portfolio. You buy different stocks, and if one or two or three of them do well, you cover your losses and make money. So it's the same idea. Okay? So we use failure as learning, as a learning experience. And here's a list of companies that fail, just to give you an idea, or to just mention some companies that failed to follow this kind of idea. Okay, so I have companies like BlackBerry. Does anybody know BlackBerry? Yeah. So Nokia, Kodak. Okay, Polaroid. So, and more and more and more. There can be, the list can be very long. Now, why did these companies fail? What do you think? I haven't explained it, but what do you think? They didn't? Right. But do you know that Kodak was the first one to develop digital technology? Sometimes people think that, oh, they just didn't have it. They had it. But you know why they didn't use it? Why they didn't use it? It was a film company. Cannibalization. That's one of the reasons why companies don't innovate. Because they have a good going business, like film. They were number one. And they didn't want to cannibalize. Okay. And the BlackBerry, same thing. They were just didn't believe that things could change. Okay. So there are many reasons why companies don't innovate. Okay. So, but mainly the demise of these companies is the result of practices that were developed based on traditional, sustainable, advanced thinking. They just stuck with existing business for too long. They didn't want to cannibalize. They didn't want to change. Okay. Okay. Now, here is Fuji. Fuji was a competitor to Kodak. Okay. But Fuji didn't do what Kodak did. Okay. Before their film-based technology was on the decline, they realized the digital trend. And they started working on that. And they started moving resources from the traditional business to the new business. And that's a key thing also, to start moving resources so you're ready. So they really believed in the digital technology, they knew that the film technology was going to be over soon. Okay, so they took a different attitude, and then they dominated. Okay, and by the way, now Fuji is into many other businesses. Is a very well diversified company, very successful. Okay, so and Kodak is out of business. But let me also wrap up my discussion of the sustainable competitive advantage thinking. Okay, so what are the problems with this type of thinking? Okay, if we believe that our business will be there forever, okay, we believe in stability. It's a very dangerous thing. Okay, so believing that your business is stable is a very, very dangerous thing. So because in this way, you avoid change. Okay, you don't change, you don't want to change. You don't see the reason. You know, why should I change? And it leads to inertia. And of course, rigidity that hinders your future. Okay. As a matter of fact, there was a study lately they found that older companies are more rigid than newer companies. And the explanation was that if you are a company in a business for a long time, you focus on your existing assets and you try to maximize the assets. So when there's a need for change, you made a lot of investment on your current assets. So it's like a sunk cost. You don't want to change. You become more rigid. It's very difficult. It's like a human being. As we get older, we become more rigid. We're not as flexible as young people. Okay, so same thing. So I don't know how much time I have. Okay, so I see the green light. I have about 10 minutes. So I'm going to quickly talk about what I have developed as a process for thinking in a structural way about these issues. Okay, so we can call that the organizational renewal process. So we can look at a company as starting as a new venture, then going through expansion, then going through exploitation of the business. We can go through what we call reconfiguration and disengagement. So I'm going to explain this. So this is key, and this is I've used it many times, this model. Business people like it. They think it's realistic. It gives them a structural process or a reason, a way of dealing with this problem, okay, of what I'm talking about, adaptation. So a new venture is what a new venture is, a new startup. So you have a new product, a new opportunity. You form a company to capitalize on the opportunity. The product is introduced to the market. You may have a business plan, a marketing plan. You introduce the product with a marketing strategy. Then we have expansion. So expansion is something normal. Okay? Most companies don't like to stay small, startups. They like to grow because, and I always advise companies to grow because if you don't grow, you become stagnant. So it's a good thing to grow. And you get scale, you get purchasing power, there's many advantages. And you implement systems and routines, and you have to act quickly on that. Okay? Don't waste time. Then there's something called exploitation. Okay? Exploitation is the normal course of business when the business becomes mature. So exploitation means that you exploit the existing business model. You make money, you try to increase market share and cash flow. You create systems and you formalize departments. And but the problem is that too many companies spend too much time on exploitation, which means too much time on milking or running, managing the existing business. Okay? And that's what creates a problem. Okay? You don't think about change. Okay? Because it's easier to run an existing business. The risk is minimal. Okay? You know the business very well, you just keep running it, managing, and making money. It's a cash cow. But the problem is that it can cause problems. Okay? And the problem is what I've been talking about, that you haven't thought about the future. So too much emphasis on the existing business creates problems because you stay with the existing businesses, the existing advantages for too long. And this is what Kodak did, and this is what IBM did, this is what all these companies did. Okay? They never moved to the new world, to the new business. And then, but what I'm saying is that you have to start thinking about reconfiguring the business. Okay? So reconfiguration is that, sorry. Okay? Is that you reconfigure people, assets, and capabilities which are transferred to the new business. So you remember what Fuji did. Fuji, before the existing business decline, they already had the new business. They had reconfigured the business, so they were ready to replace the lost business with a new business, okay, with the digital technology. So this is what configuration is. Okay? It's a dynamic capability to switch from one business to another. It's a capability. A lot of companies don't have it. Okay? A lot of companies don't have it. And so you have to, you have to practice, you have to develop that capability. As a leader, you have to be very concerned about that, okay? Because if there's no reconfiguration, there's not going to be, future. That's a problem. And sticking to obsolete business is harmful and should be avoided. Well, uncommon here. You have heard about companies in need of turnaround. Why is there a need for a turnaround? Why companies should have a need for a turnaround? Is it necessary? Does it have to happen? Anybody? Can you avoid it?
If you are dynamic, you could probably.
Exactly. So you can avoid turnaround projects. And you know what? Turnaround projects means that the company is failing. You fail. And you bring somebody else, you lay off people, it's terrible. And most turnaround attempts, efforts, don't succeed. Don't succeed. So it's very catastrophic. So you can avoid it. And Fuji avoided it, and all these other companies that keep innovating, avoid it. So there are a lot of companies who are doing this. Okay? They're into the mode of permanent, relentless innovation. They never stay calm. They never stand still. Okay? They keep innovating. So there's no need for turnaround. There's no need. But so a turnaround is a sign of failure. The CEO or the leader failed because he failed to follow something like that. So this is what we're learning from the successful companies. That please keep in touch, understand the environment, see how it changes, adapt. Okay? There's no reason to lay off so many people and cut costs and, this is dramatic. It's not good. Then there's something called disengagement. Disengagement. Okay? So disengagement involves the disposal of assets and capabilities that are not needed for the future business. So disengagement means that you disengage from the old business, you move everything to the new business. So instead of being a film-based company, now you become a digital. You become a digital company. Okay, so you disengage from the old business, and now you are into the new business. Okay, that can take a long time. I'm not saying that it's instant. Okay, and it's subject to failure. There's a lot of decisions are made, but at least that's the right way of going about doing it. Okay, so this again is a very important skill, and it's I'm sorry. So it's another core capability for the new age, for the new kind of business. Okay, and as we said, it's the process of moving out of a used up opportunity, the old opportunity. Okay, and it should be a smooth transition rather than a dramatic turnaround. This is what I'm trying to make. Don't make it a turnaround effort. Make it a smooth transition. It can be done. It can be done. Okay, so avoid turnarounds. Turnarounds are very, very bad, very costly, and then there's no need for them. So for the new world, okay, I'm almost done. Okay, so for the new world, we need the new skills. New skills. And the new skills are, for example, in the new venture and expansion phases, we require entrepreneurial skills. So if it's a startup, okay, you need entrepreneurial skills, okay, and expansion. But during the exploitation, we require employees who can design effective systems and routines. So exploitation is the longest phase of a business. That's where you make money. That's what the cash cows. And so there, you professionalize the company, you hire the best managers, you bring in systems, because you want to exploit the opportunity. But then, if you spend too much time and importance on exploitation, then you don't do the reconfiguration. So the company has to be in a rhythm. Okay, so everything has its place. So you do need some people who are good in terms of reconfiguration and in terms of de-instigation. You see? So these are the skills that the skills that are needed. Or some of the skills. And a different leadership mindset. Okay? So then the leader of such an organization has to be candid about their firm's performance. A lot of leaders don't like bad news. A good leader should should embrace, should seek the bad news. A good leader should not, put his head in the sand. So a good leader is one who seeks disconfirming information, not confirming information. Confirming means everything is good. But if things are not good, because disruptive change, you need to know that. And a lot of leaders, because they rely on information from subordinates, they don't get the bad news on time. So a good leader should seek the truth. They should know what's going on. If it's bad news, they have to address that. Okay, so that's one. So look for disconfirming information. They should be decisive and not complacent. Take risks, avoid overconfidence, and the syndrome of supermanager. Do you know the symbol of the syndrome of supermanager? Have you ever met managers or CEOs who are very arrogant? They think they can do anything. Because especially if they've been successful in the previous venture, they become full of themselves. It's a very important problem. They think they can do anything. They're action-oriented. So as a leader, you should be action-oriented, but at the same time, you should be aware of your limitations. And also, the market, should know the market, they should know the business. Because if a business is a tough business, it's very hard to do well. So in other words, there's good businesses and bad businesses. Business with good economics and not so good economics. So if you invest in a business with bad economics, it's very hard to do well. Okay? So be smart and choose businesses that are easier to make money. There should be teachers, and there should be consult. Unfortunately, my time is up from what I see. So I have to stop here, and if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. I have a lot more. If anybody wants the slides, give me your email. I can send you, because there's a lot more. So just give me your card, and I'll be more than happy, because there's a lot of some good stuff. Not a lot, but I think this matter is a matter of life or death for a company. You see, if you make a mistake when you price a product, you can change the price. If you're advertising, you can make adjustments. But here, there's no room for mistakes. Okay? You have to, that's why I'm saying that you're a great company, but you can quickly die if you don't adapt. So the greatest cause for businesses failure is lack of adaptation to changes. Okay? There are other problems, I'm not saying, but to me at the top, it's a serious issue. And we have to become agile. Agile means quick, flexible, and also innovative. So relentless innovation is the key, relentless. There are problems, there are reasons why companies don't innovate, but you have to overcome them. Okay? Otherwise, you cannot survive. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention. Any questions? Yes. Yes.
About the aviation industry. In this part of the world, we're very familiar with low-cost carriers such as AirAsia.
Yes.
Which have really disrupted the.
Yes.
Where I come from, we've got Qantas here, we've got Malaysian Airlines.
Yes.
Traditional based airlines. Is there any future really? I mean, in Australia, we've seen Qantas reorganise mass redundancies, cost cutting. We've got profitability back with Qantas, but in terms of what you've said there, is that sustainable, or is this just delaying the inevitable?
Well, there is. The thing is that we have to look at markets as segments. There are some people who prefer discount airlines, and people who like full-service airlines. So one strategy would be to improve your service and cost, and increase value. Okay, so the other strategy would be to introduce your own discount airline. A lot of companies do that. Yeah, they do that because it's very difficult to compete a full service airline. It's a different model with a discount. There's no way to compete because you either become discount airline or you stay full service and you offer the best, like Emirates and Singapore. So you have to go for the best possible service and value, quality, and so you can develop the brand. But also you can use the fighting brand. We call it fighting brand in marketing, which is you introduce your own discount to fight the discount airlines as well. The disengagement is when you renovate from the core. When the existing business, like you move from film photography to digital. So you change the whole, the existing core business. Okay? So but there's other ways to do that by introducing what I'm saying is that if there's a disruptive technology that threatens, if it's disruptive though, okay, then you have to change. So in the case of discount airline, if you predict that they're going to become mainstream, then you cannot stay as a full-service airline. So you have to disengage completely and become a discount, if that's what it is. Otherwise, you can expand into, you can offer more, but you have to, the disengagement in that case would be to use some of your profits to introduce let's say another business. Okay. So the way I was talking was more when the existing business needs to disengage. That's what it is. Good question. I'm glad you asked it because I want to clarify that. Yes. It's okay.
Hi, I'm Samuel. Good information, really. I know you did a lot of work on this one. Now, just looking towards the disruptive industry, we can look forward, but looking backwards, like Uber or Grab, what would you think the taxi guys should be doing instead of like staying with the industry? No, they are actually taxi guys. They are all talking about cars and transportation. You can't ask them to go and make cakes or join the Toastmasters. So, it's a totally different thing, How do they make themselves relevant and yet continue the disruption?
So what the traditional taxi companies can do?
Yeah, they are traditional. You see, like for example, like some of this company that is around, they have been here for many, many years, but they are still relevant. How do you actually find out, hey, we are getting into trouble now, right. Can we just adjust it or just stay where we are? Just a question. Thank you.
Good question. The reason, sorry. Oh yeah, okay, good question. The reason why in Canada we have Uber, and there's another one called something else. So there's Lyft, yeah. So there's competition there as well. The reason why I left, I used to support the traditional taxi business because when I was a student, I was a taxi driver. So that's how I was able to study. So I wanted to support the cabbies, But the reason why I stopped was because the last time I took a taxi, the driver was rude. The taxi wasn't well kept, very old. And in Canada, we also give tips to the driver. And you have to look for cash and, So, and when I left, I gave him tips. But he didn't like the tips. He thought it was not enough. He was rude, like he wouldn't even say goodbye and things like that. And he was not well dressed. And I said, enough. I'm not going to support these people who are rude. They're not. So then I tried Uber, and I loved it. Why did I love it? Then I asked myself, what was different? And I could tell the difference. Like Uber uses technology, like so simple. They just use the app, and within a few minutes, it's right there, courteous, cheaper, quicker, like comparing, no comparison. So the taxi business, they have to reinvent themselves and join the revolution of the 21st century. Okay? They have to make it easier to use them. They have to fix their product, be more courteous and friendly. And then I think they can compete. The way they do business, they cannot compete. They lose business all the time. So I was a prime example. So they have to change. Yeah. There's different ways to do that. Okay, the first thing they need to realize, okay, that they need to realize that they're behind the times. And the market is an unforgiving place. The market's not going to be sympathetic to this, like what I did. It was unusual. It was unusual. Because I was sympathetic, I had memories. But the market's not like that. The market will go with the service that is best for them. I think I received a message that the session. One more question? One more question. If there's. Yeah.
My question might need a long answer, but I hope you can give a short one. We can see companies, but we can see also nations as a big company. So now we have this trade war between China and America. So do you see the American tactic now of using sanction the right solution based on your model?
No, I never, as an economist, I never believed in, you mean in trade wars and tariffs? No, I don't believe it's going to work. It's the right thing it's the wrong thing to do. In fact, the president of the World Trade Organization was interviewed the other day. He said that a full trade war between the United States and China is going to cost 60% of jobs. 60% of jobs. It's going to be catastrophic if they engage into a full. No. To me, tariffs and trades is a sign of weakness of the economy. If people don't buy US products, it's not because they don't like US. It's because the products are either more expensive or lower quality. So you cannot protect them. This Trump is trying to protect. You know, protectionism never works. Because what's going to happen is that the American companies will up the prices because they're protected, and imported prices will be higher, and the American consumers are going to lose because they're going to pay high prices. And China can diversify. China has more degrees of freedom. You know, they have the belt and the silk, the new, so there's many countries. So I think Chinese politicians are smart. They look at opportunities and don't try to protect something. So that's my response, that it's a bad move. I don't support it. It's going to cost unnecessary. It's going to cost the cost is going to be high unnecessarily. Thank you very much. I think I was singled out by a victim. Thank you very much. Nice meeting you. It's been great. Yeah.
Really grateful for Dr. Peter to give us this talk and for the information he's given. And as a token of appreciation, I'd like to call on DTM Lakmi Chan to give him a token of appreciation.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Yes.
He's going to present you the...
Oh, thank you.